Chairman, the live stream is now operating.
Great, great. Thank you very much, Debbie. So we're good to go. It's 10 o'clock. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this virtual meeting of the Constitutional Governance Committee. Before consideration of today's business, I will outline the protocols for the meeting. Today's meeting is being live streamed to the public via Microsoft Teams and is also being recorded. May I remind members and officers to introduce themselves each time you speak and turn your video and microphone off when you finish speaking, please. If the Council's live stream fails during the meeting and we cannot share the proceedings, I will adjourn the meeting so that access can be restored. If the issue cannot be resolved, I will halt the meeting and the remaining business will be completed at a future date. If a member experiences a technical issue, I will adjourn for a short period to try to re-establish their connection. Members wishing to speak or ask a question should indicate by typing X in the chat box. As I call members to speak, I will try to remind you to switch on your microphone. If for some reason you cannot be heard, the Democratic and Governance Officer will advise you. Votes will be taken using a roll call procedure. The Democratic and Governance Officer will read out or display the recommendation and the name of the proposer and seconder will then call each committee member's name in turn. You should confirm your name and advise whether you vote in favour or against the recommendation or whether you wish to abstain from the vote. The Democratic and Governance Officer will then count the votes and advise the result accordingly. Where a member has declared a non-registrable interest, a disclosable pecuniary interest, or an interest by virtue of any trade union membership in a matter, they must leave the virtual meeting. Their departure will be confirmed and they will be invited to rejoin the meeting at the appropriate time. I don't intend to take a break during this morning's meeting. However, I will review that if necessary as the meeting progresses. So, good morning, everybody. And before we start today's business, I will ask Debbie Bolton, the Democratic and Governance Officer, to confirm member and officer attendance, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll now call the committee members by name. If you could please confirm your name and your electoral division. Councillor Biggs.
Dave Biggs, Camborne, Tryswithian.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Good morning. Malcolm Brown, St Austell, Bethel.
Thank you. Councillor Eddy.
Good morning, Martin Eddy, representing the St Clear division.
Thank you. Councillor Ecking-Smith.
Good morning, David Eakin-Smith, representing 11.
Thank you. Councillor French.
Good morning, Tom French, St Austell Bay division.
Thank you. Councillor Pascoe.
Good morning, Councillor Pascoe, representing Liskeard West and Obwalls.
Thank you. Councillor Pollard.
John Pollard, Hale North.
Councillor Towell.
Kevin Towell, Newquay Ferris.
Thank you. Councillor Wills.
Good morning, Councillor Paul Wills, St Cullen Major ED.
Thank you. And Councillor Wood.
Good morning, Councillor John Wood, Roach Division.
Thank you. For the live stream, the following officers are present at this morning's meeting. Anita Siraby, Democratic Lead and Statutory Scrutiny Officer. Leah Mustoe-Shinton, Senior Corporate Governance Lawyer. Debbie Bolton, Democratic and Governance Officer. And Ian Buckingham is operating the live stream. Thank you, Chairman. I'll pass back to you for the agenda.
Thank you very much indeed. And I see we do have a couple of guests. I think Councillor Taylor and Councillor Rule are joining us, although not members of the committee. Of course, I welcome their participation. Okay, so this will be hopefully a brief meeting in that it's a very short agenda. We did feel it was worth meeting, though, because the next agenda on March the 8th could be a very long one. And if we can deal with these issues today, then we can take them to full council in February. And then move our business on. So thank you for being here. And do we have any apologies for absence, please, Debbie?
No, Chairman.
Any declarations of interest from members of the committee, please? Okay, I take that as not. So we move to the minutes of the meeting held on the 15th of December. I will go through them page by page. If anybody wishes to raise something, please cross in the box, And if anybody's prepared to propose or second them, is a true record. Again, an X in the box, if you will. So page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Is there anybody prepared to propose this as a true record, please? Thank you, Paul Wills.
Yeah. All second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got lots of X's in the boxes, but I'll take the first two. So proposed by Councillor Wills and seconded by Councillor Smith. Could we have a roll call, please, Debbie?
Thank you, Chairman. The recommendation is that the minutes of the meeting of the Constitution and Governance Committee held on the 15th December were correctly recorded and they be signed by the Chairman. And as you said, Chairman, that's been proposed by Councillor Wills and seconded by Councillor Smith. If I could go to the roll call, please, members. Councillor Biggs.
Dave Biggs, 4.
Councillor Brown.
4.
Councillor Smith.
David Eggingsmith, 4.
Councillor Eddy.
Martin Eddy, 4.
Councillor French.
John French, 4.
Councillor Pascoe.
Jane Pascoe, 4.
Councillor Pollard.
John Pollard, 4.
Councillor Towell.
4.
Councillor Wills.
Councillor Paul Wills, 4.
And Councillor Wood.
Councillor John Wood, 4.
Thank you, members. Chairman, that's agreed unanimously.
Great, thank you very much. And apologies to Councillor Kevin Towell. I'm sorry, I've just realised you're on the phone, so you will have to shout in my ear if you will, if you wish to speak. Okay, so we go to item number 4, the review of the coordination of council business group. There are recommendations on page 7, and I think Anita will come in and lead us through this, please.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Anita Searby, Democratic Lead. Yes, this report just briefly confirms that the committee previously considered the coordination of council business group as part of its review of the overview and scrutiny arrangements in November 2019, at which point council asked the committee to further consider the status of the group and whether group leaders should sit on it. The terms of reference of the group are set out at paragraph 2.2, and paragraph 2.3 sets out the background to the establishment of the current group. Paragraph 2.5 makes reference to how those terms of reference have been applied during the course of this council. As with other governance functions, this committee, in preparing for the reduction in council size, needs to look at the evidence in front of it, which confirms that a formal meeting of a group of this nature isn't required. The coordination of council business group had its last meeting on the 22nd of February, 22nd of January, and we took the opportunity to discuss the potential for the report at that meeting. Apologies today from the leader who chairs that meeting, but he's giving evidence at a select committee for government. Otherwise, he would have been here to relay the consensus of the group. And I'll just outline what that was. The members of the group present on the 22nd of January said that an informal opportunity for Cabinet and Overview and Scrutiny Chairman to meet would be useful as a means of exchanging information. However, it does not need to take place as a formal meeting and could form part of the member development programme, which is what we're suggesting in the report. An opportunity should be provided for Overview and Scrutiny Chairman to come together to discuss matters of mutual interest, including how scrutiny works. And you'll see in paragraph 2.7 that we're already having some thoughts around overview and scrutiny training for the new council. And the third point was that there was general support for a blended approach to future arrangements, namely appropriate inclusions in the member development programme and informal meeting arrangements. And I'll leave it there, Chairman. Happy to take questions. Thank you. Chairman, you're on mute.
Thank you very much. Sorry. Thank you very much. I think for reassurance, we're trying to ensure there are other ways where groups can communicate with each other, but this rather formal quarterly meeting is felt to be surplus to requirements within the next council. So that's the recommendation, which is on page 7. There are 2 recommendations, 3 recommendations. I'll read them in a minute, but any comments, please? Dave Biggs, is that you?
It is indeed, Chairman. Thank you. I welcome the report. I think it succinctly sets out the common views on this particular item. I think the approach of informal meetings provides flexibility, which would be better served in this formal process. So I'm quite happy to move the recommendations as set out.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or a seconder, please?
I'm happy to second, Chairman. I'm chair, as you know, of the IPP meeting, and which is an informal structure, and it works exceptionally well because being an informal structure, the meetings often disclose a lot more than in a formal basis. So yes, I am happy to second it. Thank you.
Okay, Martin Eddy, I'm sorry, John Wood nicked in before you there.
No trouble, Chairman. Carry on, please.
Okay, right. So we have a proposer and a seconder. Could Debbie please read the recommendations and take a roll call?
Thank you, Chairman. It has been resolved to recommend to Council that the coordination of Council Business Group be removed from the Council's governance structure, recognising the strong leaders model in decision making in relation to issues that affect more than one portfolio holder. 2. Additions be made to the annual member development programme to support the working relationships of the Cabinet, Overview and Scrutiny Chairman and Vice Chairman. And 3. The Constitution be updated to reflect the removal of the coordination of Council Business Group from the Council structure. And that has been moved by Councillor Biggs and seconded by Councillor Wood. If we could go to the roll call. Councillor Biggs.
Dave Biggs, 4.
Councillor Brown.
4.
Councillor Eddy.
4.
Councillor Ecking-Smith.
David Ecking-Smith, 4.
Councillor French.
4.
Councillor Pascoe.
Jane Pascoe, 4.
Councillor Pollard.
4.
Councillor Tell.
4.
Councillor Wills.
Paul Wills, 4.
And Councillor Wood.
Councillor Wood, 4.
Thank you, members. Chairman, that recommendation has been agreed unanimously. Thank you.
You very much indeed. Very good. Okay, so we move on to item 5. Constitution summary and explanation. Again, details of this on pages 14 to 25 and some recommendations on page 14. Anita or Leah? Not sure.
Chairman, it's me, Anita Searby, Democratic Lead. Yeah, this report sets out potential proposed changes to the summary and explanation element of the Constitution. It comes towards the end of your work on the review of the Constitution in readiness for the new Council. Because we were aware that it would need to reflect any changes that the committee had recommended to Council and were subsequently agreed. Just for members' information, the summary and explanation is in effect a bite-sized guide to the content of the Constitution. It sets out how it operates, how decisions are made, and the procedures that are followed in a very brief overview. And it's supposed to enable anyone who looks at it to understand what its content are. There are no significant changes to be made, save in paragraph 2.2.1, where there's reference to what's in the Constitution, and what we're saying there is to recognise the changes recently agreed by Council, where there was the Council's agreed vision was approved to reflect the fact that the Council's business plan sets out the organisational priorities for the next 4 years, and the updates to the articles to reflect the factual position. And then in terms of paragraph 2.2.2, which talks about how the Council operates, this change is recommended to take place once the election has taken place and the Council reduces from 123 to 87. And I'll leave it there, Chairman. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Again, the recommendations are there. This is a tidying up process. There's nothing new here. We're simply making sure that the Constitution reflects the reality of the changes we've made over the last few weeks or months. So comments, please. Councillor Biggs.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Well, I welcome the opportunity to tidy up the Constitution. And in this regard, I'm not happy with what we got in the summary and explanation as it starts off. I'll explain. The summary and explanation part of the Constitution, is a statutory requirement under the Local Government Act 2000. So we have to put it in there. Most authorities have a very simple statement about what it's a summary and explanation about the Constitution. It is not about vision and strategy and policy. And there should be no part, in my view, for those to be in the Constitution. This is not about what we're doing. This is how we do it. So it's totally anathema to have things in there which refer to what the strategy or the Cornwall plan might be for the next few years. That simply is no part of a constitution, so it should be removed. And I would recommend, if I can give you an example, if I may, Chairman, very briefly. If I look at other authorities, what they say in their summary and explanation, they say things like, the council has adopted a constitution which sets out how the council operates, how decisions are made, and the procedures which are followed to ensure that these are efficient, transparent, and accountable to local people. Some of these processes are required by law, while others are chosen by the council. Now, that's it. That is what the constitution is about. It's not about what the visions might be from any political party or any particular lobby group. So I would delete everything from if on page 20 from Article 1 from accountable. I would delete all that right down to and just leave in the remaining articles on page 21. The remaining articles explain the rights of the public and how the key parts of the council operate. Now that to me provides integrity to the Constitution, and that's what we should be about. This Constitution must be neutral. So I'm opposed entirely to including all the verbiage in between accountable and the rest of it, the remaining articles.
Okay, in that reflects the policy and the vision of the existing council rather than the constitution of a council. Is that
Exactly.
right?
It must stand alone from whatever. Okay. I don't care what the content is, Chairman.
No, not quite.
However green or well-meaning it is, and I don't dispute that. It's that this content should not be in the Constitution.
Okay. So could I know Leah's on the call? So Anita or Leah, could you answer that, please? Why have we put it there?
Chairman, I'm happy to come in on that point. If we look at the tracked changes version, Leah might want to come in afterwards from the legal perspective, but if we look at the track changes version, which is in the appendix, you'll see what the inclusion was and what has been removed. So basically, at the current constitution has what's been deleted, and it says, so the current constitution says the council has a strategic aim of creating a prosperous Cornwall that is resilient, etc. And this strategic aim has 8 strategic themes. So what we were doing in updating this report was reflecting the change that has been made by the council recently. I'm not saying that that's the position that we've took.
No,
we're
right.
Updating the current document to reflect what the current position was. Leah might want to comment on the legal inclusion point, but I mean, it's obviously it's a matter for members in terms of what they want to recommend. And
okay.
I take Councillor Biggs's point on the points that he's made.
So having removed ambitious Cornwall, engaging our communities and so on, the bit that's left, where has that come from? I mean, that is presumably somebody's vision and policy that's been put in place over the last few years.
So the previous the bit that's been, sorry Chairman, the bit that's been deleted has been in the constitutional document since the unitary authority was established. So that's been there for that period of time, and in reviewing the documentation ready for the new council, there was recognition of the recent decision by council, which is reflected in the new text.
Yeah, sure.
So that's where that's come from. So
okay, no,
and obviously it's a matter for members whether or not they wish to update the constitution in that way, or whether they wish to agree with Councillor Biggs and so that none of that blue, the text that shows up in blue in Appendix 1 on the website is included.
Yeah, got that. I think everybody's clear. Hopefully everybody's clear on that. My question really was not about what's there, but why it's there.
Sorry, Chairman, I can't comment on that because I can't comment on that. Because the constitution. It was there, and it was something that was agreed for 2009. And at that point, I wasn't involved in this document. So It was probably done with best intentions at that time.
I'm not
I haven't got any more further thing to add. Sorry, Chairman.
Not questioning the intentions. I'm just, for clarity over what we're trying to achieve here, just trying to establish how we got to this point. Leah, from legal end, any comments?
Just reiterating really what Anita said there. So what we've proposed replaces what was previously there and agreed. I think Councillor Biggs is correct. There's a requirement in the Local Government Act 2000 which sets out what a local authority must have in its constitution. There was a regulation made back in 2000 which, although is no longer technically in force, we still draw guidance from, and that basically just sets out that we must have a summary to the constitution. I think what is included in that summary is very much a matter of local choice, and I think if you go across local authorities across the UK, they do vary. And there are examples of more detailed examples. Councillor Biggs has given an example of a very brief description. There are also other examples where it goes into much more detail than that. So I think it's very much a matter of local choice.
Okay. So what we're debating is the principle of what should go in there, whether it should be a brief statement, as Councillor Biggs suggests, or this further statement. Hopefully, Dave, you've got some idea of what you'd like to put in there if we get to that point later on. But I've got lots of speakers, so let's go to next. Councillor Towell, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. My concerns really were along the same lines as Councillor Biggs. I was a little bit confused about the track changes, but I think that's been clarified a bit. I mean, to my mind, the Constitution is a document that should be absolutely clean of any policy previous decision makings. It's a sort of manual of how Cornwall Council works and how it operates, and it's a guide to the process to get to policy, and it shouldn't refer to policy. So there's the staging of the committees and full council and who's responsible for which decisions when, and I think that's all we need in that document. Really, we don't need to refer to existing policy decisions. So the cleaner that is, and the unsullied nature of that is what I would like to see. Very black and white, very basic, just a guide to what's happening under the bonnet, and not necessarily a sat nav to anywhere we're driving.
Okay, I don't want to muddy the water. Thank you, Kevin. I don't want to muddy the waters, but perhaps we ought to be thinking of the differences between policy statements and principles on which the Constitution is based. Councillor Brown, please.
Yeah, I don't have strong views about the points that Councillor Biggs has made, and you know, we'll think how to vote on that in due course. But I wanted to raise something different, because there's a lot of reference in this document, especially the rights of the public section, to meetings, and the inference, you can read it if you don't understand local government as thinking that it's all about the old style meetings where we all used to troll down to County Hall and sit and have a discussion and vote and go home again. There's no reference to working virtually, working in hybrid meetings. And I think there ought to be a reference to that somewhere, because whatever happens after the elections, after the pandemic, I think the view already is that some virtual meetings, some hybrid meetings will continue to be necessary and appropriate. And in fact, the meeting today is a really good example. If people like me shut up, the meeting won't go on too long, and it will demonstrate the advantages of having done it virtually. So I just think if the intention of the Constitution, the introduction to the Constitution, is to highlight the key principles under which the council is operating, I think something does need to go in there about the greater range of meetings that will take place from the time that the new version comes into effect.
So are you suggesting, Malcolm, some kind of footnote which gives an explanation that there are different forms of meetings for different purposes?
I think a footnote would probably be the neatest. I'm open to advice on that, but I think there ought to be something.
Okay. So we have some comments on that, please, Anita, Leah.
Yes, thanks, Chairman. I think, and Leah has got her hand raised as well, Chairman.
Okay.
We recognise that things are changing. At this point in time, the legislation enabling remote meetings is only in place until the 7th of May, and we don't know what the future will be. So, and as you read the rights of the public, so that the one that I'm looking at in particular is attending meetings of the council and its committees. I think that's probably the one that Councillor Brown is talking about. Once we have a final position from the government, it would be appropriate for us to update the Constitution at that point, because we don't know what we're heading for at this point. And members will have seen that there was a letter circulated to all members yesterday that the leader and the chief executive have written, lobbying the government for a permanent change to the legislation. At this point, there isn't one mooted, so we don't know what we're dealing with. So we want to make sure that the document reflects an accurate position, and obviously we can make some factual changes based on legislative changes at the appropriate time.
Okay, so we could make in the recommendations a commitment that further explanation will be on that once it's become legal and clear. Leah?
Hi, Leah, corporate governance lawyer. Just wanted to add that obviously we have got the temporary variations to the Constitution at the moment, which sit alongside our Constitution. They do have a definition of meeting at the moment, which obviously do incorporate the remote meetings. So like Anita said, once we do know what the legislative position is, we will be proposing alterations to the Constitution to reflect what the term meeting means in terms of legislative change. We also are taking a report to Constitution and Governance Committee meeting in March to review those variations, where we hopefully may not know more in terms of proposed legislative change.
Okay, Malcolm, does that satisfy your?
Yeah, if there's something which is explicit in the minutes of the meeting to reflect that, I'll be quite content.
Excellent. Okay.
I'll just observe though. Councillor Rule is on the call as well. She and I both had the opportunity last week to be at a meeting at which the Secretary of State, Robert Jenrick, spoke and was asked about this, and I was pretty clear on the basis of what he said that the government are going to change the law one way or another to allow virtual meetings and hybrid meetings to continue if any local authority so wishes.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you're right. Okay, so next on my list is Councillor Pascoe.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm actually going back a bit now and following up on what Councillor Biggs and Councillor Tile seem to pick up. I'm not comfortable with the inclusion of the "together we can." I understood the Constitution set out the basic rules governing the council business, and that it should be untainted by political aspirations. And I think that this will be it will be seen as a political vision, and ask you to consider that it is not appropriate. It is inappropriate to include it.
Interesting word. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Jane. Councillor Wood.
I totally agree with Councillor Biggs. I think the Constitution should be how things are done and why things are done, and it's for the elected political group, when they come into their position, to be setting the priorities for the council and not for the priorities to be in the Constitution. So I can see exactly where Councillor Biggs is coming from.
Okay, thank you very much. There's no one else on the list at the minute. So, Councillor Biggs, could you just formulate a few words to express what you would like to happen?
Yes, happy to do that, Chairman. If you give me a few moments, I'll cut and paste and pop something into the chat box if that's any help. But basically, I've looked at one or two authorities in terms of their summary and explanation. The one I quoted was from Wiltshire, which I think is succinct, and it's in nice, simple, plain English, which I like, and I think that should be at the front of the Constitution. So the one I proposed was from an adaptation of the Wiltshire one. Just out of interest, I was also looking at Basingstoke and Dean, and the reason I looked at that, and that's very similar as well, and the reason I looked at that was because our monitoring officer came from there, and I thought she might recognise the words when she sees them in the minutes. But it's very, Basingstoke and Dean are very, very similar as well, and I accept what Ms. Leah Musto-Shinton has said, that there may be variations on it, but I think for the integrity of our Constitution, we keep it as simple and as clean as possible. Allow the politics and the policy making and strategy to be conducted outside, but that's the function of the Constitution, is to allow that to happen, not to do it or say how it should be done itself. So if you're happy, Chairman, what I would propose is that I would say something.
Get typing.
Okay. Give me 2 minutes, John. I'll be right with you.
I'll give you 1 minute, 33 seconds.
Chairman, Anita Searby, Democratic Lead. I wonder if what Councillor Biggs is trying to achieve is, if you look at the appendix, it's the removal of the new text, which starts Cornwall Council has agreed vision,
text,
going all the way down, and removing also the proposal around the existing text, which has got strike through. If you look at it on the website, the council has a strategic aim. So then what you would have is what's in the Constitution, and it would say Article 1 of the Constitution commits the council to providing clear community leadership and operating in a way which is transparent, efficient and accountable. And then it would go straight to the remaining articles, explain the rights of the public and how the key parts of the council operate.
Very good. So in fact, the recommendation could be the deletion of that section. Dave?
Yeah, I've just been typing a bit, John, if you can see it. But I agree, basically what Ms. Searby has said. The fact that we had some stuff in there from 2009 doesn't make it was right. It was wrong to put it in 2009. We shouldn't have done it. Well, so I'm guilty as charged on that one, Chairman.
No, I don't think it's guilt. It's just the fact that this particular Constitutional Governance Committee is on the ball and has picked it up, I would claim. Anyway, comments from Leah or Anita? Well, Leah on what Anita's just said. Keep it simple. And from Leah, please, on what Dave Biggs has written.
Chairman Anita Searby, Democratic Lead. There are two options in front of the committee. So there are either the suggestion that I made, which was to delete all of the text which Councillor Biggs and others have expressed concerns around, which are in there by local choice, or to adopt the words that Councillor Biggs has put in the text box, which can be read out for the purposes of the public, if that's the direction that the committee wants to go in.
Absolutely. So there's a choice.
Chair, could I just add? If Councillor Biggs could just be clear where he would want that text to sit. So would you want that text to sit underneath the Article 1 sentence?
Yes, it's what. Yes, where it would fit would be what's in the Constitution, and then everything fits below that, and then it continues. These are. So, but hang on, just a minute, John, if I may. I was working parallel with Ms. Searby at the time. Yep. I'm perfectly prepared to accept what she has said. So, sorry to.
No, that's okay. So,
but I like what Ms. Searby has said. I think that's absolutely appropriate. It's simple. It's straightforward. It says so. We say Article 1 of the Constitution commits the Council to providing clear community leadership and operating in a way which is transparent, efficient and accountable. Those words, transparent, efficient and accountable, I think are common across all constitutions. Okay. And then it then goes down to the remaining articles explain rights of the public, etc. So I would be happy with that.
Okay, so for clarity, particularly those who are tuning in, if there are any, in terms of the paperwork, we will have as exactly as Dave Biggs suggested, and the proposal to the committee is that we delete that that detail between those two paragraphs. Councillor Wood.
I think what Anita said makes total sense. It's as you say, keep it simple, stupid, and that's the way. And I'd be quite happy to second Councillor Biggs's recommendation. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. And we've got in the text box an agreement from Councillor Wills. Do you want to speak, Paul?
Just to say I fully agree with what Anita said, and I'm glad that Dave Biggs does as well, Mr. Chairman. I think it makes perfect sense.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Towell?
Yes, I'm quite happy. It seems to tidy it all up in a simple way. I'm quite happy to second, but I think Councillor Wood beat me to it. So, okay. Yeah, I'm happy.
Okay, final word from Councillor Biggs before we try to clarify what we're going to vote on.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, John. Just one further point on page 23, the second paragraph down, we refer to the overview and scrutiny procedure rules. They're not in the Constitution, they're referred to as overview and scrutiny protocol. So if we could delete procedure rules and replace that with protocol, please. But other than that, very happy with it.
Okay, comment, Leah, please.
Yeah. Chairman, I can confirm there are two separate things. There are the overview and scrutiny procedure rules in the Constitution. The protocol is a supporting document which is separate.
Okay, I stand corrected, Chairman. Thank you.
Very good. Great. Hey, well done, Anita, on the ball this morning, as always. Okay, so what we have on record on page 14 are two updates, and we just need to get the wording right. But I think the first one should read that the updates to the summary and explanation section of the Constitution, as set out in Appendix 1, be altered or improved, I don't know, whatever word you want to use, by deleting.
Amended.
Amended, thank you. That's a very good word, whoever that was in my left ear. Be amended by deleting the sections of description of policy and principle. Okay, so that and I think we can put then in the text to full council, Debbie, how it would read, because it's Article 1, that paragraph in bold type or bolder type down to remaining articles, be removed, and with that amendment be approved. Something like that. How are we doing, Debbie?
Yes, Chairman, what we would do when the item goes to full council, we would provide a clean copy of what we would be asking full council to agree, and the discussion certainly will be reflected in the minutes.
So the updates to the summary and explanation section of the Constitution be amended, okay, and approved. Something like that would do it for us. And then the amendment would be shown in the minutes.
Yes, what we would do, Chairman, is we would reflect that discussion in the minutes, but the recommendation would be clear, which full council would be voting on. Yes.
Okay, fine, great. And two, the updates to take immediate effect, with the exception of the change in the number of councillors, which will take effect after the formation of the new council. I think that's been proposed and seconded. So over to you, Debbie.
Councillor Brown does have indicated.
Oh, sorry, missed you, Malcolm. Thank you.
Yeah, only very briefly, because we've been moving around between two different sub-debates, if you like, and mine about virtual and hybrid meetings. I don't see a need to change the recommendation to reflect that, but I just want a further assurance from officers that it will be covered in the minutes, and that we will be observing what may or may not emerge from government during the next few weeks.
Okay, I think okay, Debbie has given you that assurance. and I think Nita explained that was what was going to happen anyway, so that's really good, and thank you for that, Malcolm. Okay, Debbie, then we go to a roll call, please.
Thank you, Chairman. So the proposal as read by the Chairman has been moved by Councillor Biggs and seconded by Councillor Wood. If we could go to a roll call, please, members. Councillor Biggs.
Dave Biggs, 4.
Councillor Brown.
4.
Councillor Eddy.
4.
Councillor Ecking-Smith.
David Ecking-Smith, 4.
Councillor French.
4.
Councillor Pascoe.
4.
Councillor Pollard.
4.
Councillor Towell.
4.
Councillor Wills.
4 Wills, 4.
And Councillor Wood.
Councillor Wood, 4.
Thank you, members. Chairman, that's agreed unanimously, and that will be a recommendation to February full council.
Great, and again, unanimity breaks out from Constitution and Governance. So thank you very much for a good discussion, and for Malcolm and David for raising those 2 important points. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, I've lost my agenda, but that concludes the agenda for this morning. So thank you very much. I think Martin and I are staying on with the officers for some discussion on the next agenda, but can I say to colleagues, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day, and good luck at the vets, John.
Thanks very much, John. Thank you for quick.
Thank you, John. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you,
Bye.
officers.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks, Chairman. Bye.
Bye, Leah.